What's up, Cards Chat? Welcome back to another Play and Explain with me, Matt Vaughan. I'm a Cards Chat pro. As always, don't forget I have an Ask Me Anything thread on the Cards Chat Poker Forum. I think the link is in the description down below. We're back at the circuit events here on WSOP Nevada, which is actually not just WSOP Nevada. It faces New Jersey, and it will include Pennsylvania and Michigan at some point in the future. It's got pretty good MTTs. They run a lot of circuit events here, and I've been playing more of them. This one happens to be the final event, at least the final like mid-range buy-in event of the series. So this series runs through, whatever, near the end of this month, and this event is a $525 buy-in, and we are going to be firing away at it. The first event that I did this for, I think, was a 215 or maybe a 300, something in that neighborhood. This one's a little bit bigger. That's the main event, 200K guaranteed. Let's get into the action. So we're not getting in right away, but we are pretty close to the start of the event. I am up a little from starting stack. I believe starting stack is 15K, sitting on 18.8. Pretty fine spot, but nothing really to write home about yet. You can see I actually am in for one rebuy. I wasn't sure if I was going to record today or not. Had some other stuff going on, but things cleared up. So we're in here on bullet 2, a little above starting, and right now it looks like 293 entries. I was one of the first 20 people to bust, apparently, but 40K up top at the moment. I imagine that number will climb because I think this will beat the guarantee by a good bit. So a lot to play for, but very early. So let's just see what kinds of spots we can get into here, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, so we put in the 3-bet squeeze here with the King 6 suited. Honestly, not sure if this is like solver approved, but it's a pretty okay hand type. Sort of prefer it if it's maybe like hijack cutoff, and obviously we get 4-bet the one time I get out of line, and we're just gonna have to fold. I guess it's not that big of a 4-bet, but I mean, if you're going to go to half stacks, you kind of may as well just go all in, I guess. It's weird because he was deeper with the other player, but the other player should never be able to get it in anyway. All right, another most likely playable spot here. Waiting to see if it's open in front of us, but we definitely have a peel. Yeah, we'll just peel. No 3-bet this time. 4-way pot and flop ourselves second pair. Not the most comfortable spot, but at least it's best kicker. Pretty annoying to see half pot lead. We can probably just fold, I guess. Yeah, we're just gonna fold. And it looks like we're on another break, so I will be right back with you guys. All right, so in this spot, folds around all the way to the small blind who opens, covering us. We 3-bet, and we're probably just forced to get this in if they were to jam, but we would really love for them to call, and we would have a lot of hands in their range dominated, which is pretty nice. They're taking their time, which leads me to believe they're going to 4-bet or fold. But yeah, short and sweet one there. I'm trying to only tune in when things happen, but I also don't want you guys to miss too much of the action, so I'll be playing around with this format as we go. Pocket pair in the small blind is often going to be a call, depending on the action in front, but if it's just a min open and then some calls, we'll be continuing. All right, so as expected, we only see calls here, and we're able to overcall as well. It is a squeeze opportunity for the big blind, but our price is so good that that's all right. We will be okay either way. And they do just call, and we see a set right there up front. We won't be leading this board with any part of our range, so we won't lead this hand. It is tricky. Multi-way, this is tricky. If the original raiser wants to put a lot of bets in, often they will have us beat. But when they check, we are in very good shape. However, the board can certainly get scarier. This will check through quite a bit. Let's see what happens. So it does check through, and this heart adds a flush draw, and the 9 adds some straight draws. So we've got quite a bit going on here. We're definitely going to want to bet. And I shouldn't say definitely. I think there's some merit to pretty much all options here, actually. But I think that going for like a 1/3-ish sort of bet, let's go a little bigger, is going to do well here. I mean, if somebody just has like the 10 of hearts, it's going to be kind of hard to call. I mean, there shouldn't be a lot of offsuit combos except in the big blinds range, which is part of what makes this card tricky. But there can be some ace X with like a weaker heart in somebody's range that will never fold. So maybe a larger size would have performed better, but a lot of times multi-way, we're going to opt for smaller sizes because we can't really bluff very effectively. And so we'll be a little more, I guess, equity oriented. All right, so this one is pretty annoying. We see, we open big blind defends, we see bet, we didn't see bet flop, we checked back, bet about 2/3 on the turn. And then on the river, of course, completing everything, they decide to lead small. I mean, I think there are some King X that could play this way, but it's pretty dirty. I mean, when we don't bet the flop, but the king is a card that improves our range, I think there's some flush draws, but not a ton of flush draws. It's kind of too bad that the king is a diamond, because even like King X of clubs is out there. Oh man, it'd be really nice to have the king or jack of the club or clubs here. There's definitely a lot of like 7-6, 8-6, 5-6 in range as well. Even some two pairs might not bet turn, might not check raise turn. I mean, there are some bluffs, but like 9, 10, and maybe some gut shots, I guess, would be most of them. So I think we can just fold this. I don't think people really bluff enough in a spot like this, especially for this size. This size is just rarely a bluff in my opinion. And so we'll let it go. Not fun, but I think if we just call there with like king jack with a club, that's much more justified. All right, so we get a spot to open it on up here with pocket queens. We're fairly deep, so I'll be opening a little bit larger than min here. And we'll have to see kind of what happens here. If you guys watched the previous circuit video, I definitely misplayed a big one with queens before where there was a little bit too much action. Queens is a sort of deceptive hand because it is quite strong, but at the same time, if lots of bets are going in pre and you're quite deep, it's often going to be a little bit of like way ahead, way behind if you put in aggressive action. And here we can of course see that the only times I get premiums in this event, I'm going to get folds, at least so far. We do get a defendable spot in the big blind here. Very easy call. And now we're going to flop trips, which is nice, but it's also worth noting that it's pretty unlikely that we get all the money in here just about ever. We face a 1/3 bet, and I think that this is a kind of nice one to have as just a check call. We have just the board pretty crushed, and while there are some cards that could kill some action, there are ones like this that will come and allow them to continue barreling, sometimes have improve to a second best hand. And this is a really nice one to see. I imagine we see a pretty high bet frequency here from the opponent. And against this size, I think we could go either way. We block a lot of the strongest double barrel bluffs, so it's a little bit more likely he actually has a good ace. We certainly still have bluffs that we could have here, even hand types like this, 2 overs with spades. And so I do think that we're going to go for it here, sizing up to ideally go for a jam on the river. Could have maybe even gone a little bigger than that. And certainly we have a good amount of 4x here, but I think a lot of opponents check raise the 4x at a pretty high frequency. So unfortunate that we don't get through there, but I think the main takeaway is unless the opponent is going to triple barrel at a pretty high frequency on brick runouts, we sort of need to put in a raise there. And like, I don't expect that we're going to make them fold an ace. I don't think we're going to make them fold, a worse 4. Obviously, we're not going to make them fold a flush draw either. And so putting in the check raise there sort of makes it way more likely that we maximize against the hands that we can maximize against. There's some hands we're just never going to get more money in against. And if those fold, it's really not the end of the world because they were never putting more in anyway. In back-to-back hands here, we limp in the 7-5 suited. Gonna check the bottom pair here. A little bit hard to get called by. Not that I can't get called by worse hands, but it's more difficult to get multiple streets. And so if we start the betting early, like if we bet flop, they call, this is the turn, we just like are pretty much in no man's land. Like our hand's not a good bluff candidate, and it doesn't really rate to be the best hand that often either. So I'd much rather check it for the showdown value that it does have against a lot of like ace highs, king highs, queen highs, and so on. And we do end up winning against king high, which is a pretty clear check back for the opponent, I think, as well. And we're just getting back to back spots. I think this one, if it's open in front of us, can be a flat or a 3-bet. We haven't seen too much 3-betting from our opponents, so I think we would probably just flat, but we get to open it ourselves. Obviously, pretty close to top of range here on the button, relatively speaking. And flopping top pair, second pair with a heart. Very strong hand, but we probably can't get too many streets of value here. So we have an option to like bet small and just target worse kings, draws, and whatever. And we do block a lot of the check raises, so I'm actually leaning that way now that I think about it a little bit more. But checking back certainly would be fine as well, I think. And just taking it down is fine. Like it's kind of nice thing to just be in a little bit of certainty about where we're at. So pretty large open from our opponent here, but I think our hand is just a little bit too good to fold. It's gonna be sort of unfortunate if we're just cooler here. I mean, I don't really even hate seeing this kind of flop, because if they c-bet, it's just a very clear fold, unless they bet like 10% pot. Them checking is a little bit rough. They could certainly be trapping some hands, or they could be, having a hand like pocket kings, etc. Given that we called such a large bet pre, I think we get to bet here, but we can't really bet large to pressure hands yet until we see if he's maybe going to check raise or what the deal is. I mean, if he gets the check raise in, it's fine. We just fold. And, he got us, good for him. In this case, he did. So be it. Another defensible spot. I don't love calling these offsuit aces when there's also a caller in the small blind, but you do sometimes just have to do it. We're plenty deep as well, so I don't feel like I'm going to get married to an ace and just get stuck stacking off or anything like that. But here we'll have a very easy check fold if it comes to that. Checks all the way through, but we're still not really altering the plan here. We're just going to end up folding, barring, it checking through again and something sort of unusual happening. I do think if the small blind checks, we have an okay opportunity to bluff at this. I mean, I think that we're most likely up against a better ace high a lot, or a small pocket pair or mid pocket pair that just never feels comfortable putting a bet in. So I think going for a large bet multi-way, I even kind of like an overbet here, is going to be pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't expect many queen X to check back turn from the aggressor, and I don't expect... there will be a couple slow plays from a small blind probably, but it's not like it's going to always happen. And we have a lot of queen X that would check turn. And as a second queen rolls off, I think we would feel very comfortable overbetting it. Get through the first one. Can we get through the second player? If they like side call a jack, I mean, it is what it is. I think that's our most likely outcome that we lose on, is they just call jack 10. King jack, those are very good calls, but we do get it through. Nice to have the overbet bluff work and be chipping on up again. It's been a little slow lately, not too much happening, and blinds going up, although this structure is it is pretty good. This one might end up being a VPIP as well. The solvers really like the king 5 suited in the small blind, I've noticed. Not as good when the opener is closer to up front than from related position, but probably still okay. I squeezed one like this before. I think I'm just going to flat this one. Don't know if I'm going to have a ton of credit immediately after I make that play. And pretty awful board for us, so it'll be just a quick check fold. But you also notice that it's a little easier for us to make these calls when people are just min opening. We're quite deep still, so I think they should be opening a little bit bigger, more like 2.2, 2.3. Even up to like 2.5x would probably be okay. 2x just makes it much easier, and this is too big. It almost doesn't matter what they have. I don't think that multi-way they would be betting so large too often. There's probably some hands that it's okay, but it should be pretty rare. Find the ace nine off on the button here against the cutoff open and just call. Not the greatest board in history, given that we have top pair, but not the worst either. Certainly easy to call. Less than 1/3 size here. I don't think we want to be raising this hand. It's just a little bit too weak. We don't really get our opponent to fold better or call with too much worse. They can have some worse ace-x for sure opening out of the cutoff, but it's just like we're really towing the line because when we're behind, we're often crushed. And even this already feels like we're often just stone dead already, the size up. But there are 2 flush draws, so I think we peel one more. And I mean, it's a good river that should slow him down at a pretty high clip, and then we can probably value bet. Although this pot is quite bloated already, and I'm not convinced that we get called by a ton of worse holdings on specifically the 9 of clubs. There are also still a lot of hands we lose to. King, queen could slow down. Sets could slow down. Even 2 pairs could slow down. So I'm actually a little bit torn about whether I even want to go for a bet here or not. We also, I mean, if we get check raised, we just fold, right? I don't think that's too much of an issue. But the real question is, do we get called by ace queen and ace king? Do we get called by anything worse than that? And if not, it feels a little close. I think I'm going to check. I don't think I want to get greedy and go for like, I mean, we could go for like 15% pot or something. That might be okay. We just have so many strong hands. Maybe that's fine. Maybe we just go for like 1,000, 1,100. This cute sort of bet size is like begging to get check raised, but I just don't think they can do it without having it probably. And then we'll just feel stupid and bet fold, I guess. And they do call, and we are ahead. Wow, what a run out. That is just nuts. I mean, that's like the one hand type that we could probably have gotten significantly more money in against, but that's super fortunate that went out exactly how it did, of course. And now very healthy, 70 blinds. Again, pretty good structure, although blinds are about to go up. And what's crazy with this is we're not even like, it's not like we're chip leading. The structure is just good enough that a lot of players will have a stack of this size or bigger. We're currently 85 out of 276, so top, like third of the field or so. Clear open here, and we are starting to see people get a little bit shorter, so not going to open too much bigger than min, but we will open a little above min here. Just the big blind defends, and we flop top set. I mean, I think that there's definitely a temptation to slow play here, but with the board being so connected, I think we can certainly put out a bet. That's what I'm going to do here. And there will be a lot of just folds of 2 overs. I don't know how this fly got in here. There will be a lot of folds of 2 overs and stuff like that, but there are just so many hands that can put money in. It seems a little bit criminal to check. It's certainly criminal to check deuces or sixes. Eights is probably the only value hand that like we could, sort of consider checking there. But sometimes we're just going to take it down, and that's okay too. Look, it literally looks like my dog is like just deceased back here. Oh my God. I mean, she's fine, but oh man, I'm going to run out of my time bank here. These are never super pleasant. I think on paper we're probably supposed to call, but I guess he is the button. We are gonna call. I just like don't like these spots. Like when these boards come, we just kind of torched 2K. 3-bet pots are still not an area that I'm like the most confident in, and my ranges are certainly a little questionable sometimes. I mean, I think it's reasonable for him to check back some over pairs. We unblock like ace jack, ace 10. We block kings and queens. We don't block aces, jacks, 10s. I mean, we certainly have a lot of the really strong hands on this board, so I think I am going to go for a bet. It's pretty hard for him to continue with like just ace high, so we could potentially just bet and then give up on river. I think that's an okay line with this bet size, and kind of nice to just get it through after I was complaining about these spots where I get 3-bet and don't know what to do. Nice to have it work out. What a time for my camera to go out. Trying to get it back for you, but I accidentally misclick min raised pre on this opener, and they just flatted. This is the board, and we go for a large bet trying to get it in on turn. I don't even know if turn really changes anything. I think we can still probably just get it in, even though it's pretty uncomfortable. He has some like King X of diamonds, but he also has worse pairs that are under a lot of pressure here. And he may just not believe us based on like the weirdness of what happened pre. Oh man, I just timed out another table with ace king. That's annoying. So I think we stick with the plan, even though I'm going to feel really stupid if I just dust it here. He could also have sets and aces. I mean, I don't even like... I think he should click it back with aces. It's just kind of funny that, like, I'm still getting it all in pre with him, even if I don't misclick. This is just how bad I've run this circuit series. It's just like, oh, I did the one thing that, like, maybe I could have gotten away, but then it was still a 10 high board, so I had to dust it off. That's pretty frustrating. We'll most likely be all in here, barring a 3-bet in front of us. And then if we have to, we'll rebuy. But man, it would be nice to not be in for the max bullets every single event this series. I don't know how I'm in profit. It's honestly somewhat mind-boggling that I'm in profit on this series. If this guy does 3-bet, we probably could cold 4-bet jam now. But it's certainly better now that it's just us, and it will look like we're on tilt. We'll certainly be called by some worse hands, and of course some better hands as well, and then some flips. If he folds, that's fine too. But we would love for him to just turn over pocket sevens now. I'm anxiously awaiting my fate. He's tanking, so that's good. He's not tanking with 10s plus, probably, unless he's just kind of mean. I mean, he could tank with a hand like ace jack for sure, and we're not like in incredible shape there. But I think a lot of like sixes through eights will tank like this. So I'm hopeful. I think I'm rooting for a call now. He is going deep into the time bank here. I mean, like he's tanked a solid like 30 seconds. So was definitely rooting for the call after that, but just really unfortunate that it had to happen exactly how it did. We started that hand, like 30 some odd bigs effective. If I 3-bet to a normal size, he's likely just 4-bet ripping, even if he plays it slow. I think that, sorry, I'm just trying to backtrack the sizings here. We're like 35 bigs effective to start the hand, something like that. So yeah, I mean, if he flats, let's say I made it like 2K instead of making it like 4K. So if he flats the 4K, pot's going to be like almost 9K and then 16K behind. So like I could have even just like ripped flop potentially. So, I mean, results oriented to be like, oh, I would have gotten stacked anyway, but it does make me feel a little bit better when I keep misclicking these things. Like I wasn't recording much lately, and I just got the record back on for that hand because I was like doing some other things, handling some messages, and then to have it work out exactly how it did is always a little frustrating. But here we are. I'm actually going to check this back multi-way. There's a good amount of 6x out there. We have one of our worst ace-x that we can have. So just going to check it back and, hope that somebody can improve to like a worse 2-pair hand or something like that. Not really a great turn to make that happen, but there are flush draws now, I suppose. This is very awkward, but I think we're okay to just fold. I don't envision a lot of outcomes where we call or 3-bet here and have the best hand at showdown. So we're just going to release, and most likely it's just going to go fold, but it's kind of nice to see the call because now, I mean, it's very hard for nobody to have anything. It's possible they both have flush draws or straight draws. One straight draw even comes in. But it's very tough for them both to have nothing, which is nice. Oh man, he had the same hand. And then what was the bluffer? Bluffer shut down with 8-5 of hearts. Okay, I mean, it's like the one scenario where we had the best hand or tied for the best hand. Like there's just like really few scenarios where that would have been true. Now granted, small blind could have just folded to the raise as well. But yeah, like if we had called. So it's not a given that we would have had to beat both. But Yeah, kind of unfortunate the way this one has gone. I thought the trajectory was looking good. I was feeling good. Thought we were playing pretty well, and you just lose one big hand, and that's kind of the nature of tournaments. I don't want to like bemoan my bad luck too much, because that's just how it goes. I do want to just call out that this is pretty standard. Like, it's just gonna happen a lot. We now have 20 bigs and a dream, and there are still 264 players left with the dream, and most of them have more chips than us, and a lot of tournaments are just going to go that way. Now, granted, we could also get a nice spot or two. We could double or triple up. We could just win every single raised pot for, you know, a couple orbits or something like that. You just never know. So definitely going to try to keep my head in the game here. Sometimes it's a little easy to check out when you've got like 20 bigs left or less. I'm going to try really hard not to just check out here. Still kind of dealing with some messages here and there, so hopefully nothing too distracting, and we can hopefully we can spin it up. Let's see what happens. All right, so this is a limped pot pre, and we flop ourselves bottom pair. If they check, we'll most likely be betting. I mean, this is annoying. We're going to be forced to an all-in decision pretty frequently. It's a pretty good turn. They have a lot of logical bluffs that include a 5 or a 6 in them that we don't block. So I think we have an okay candidate to call down. We block like 9-10, but I think 9-10 might raise sometimes too. I think this is going to be a call down spot pretty frequently. I mean, we have a good amount of 8x, I suppose. What an outrageous river. I mean, if he checks now, we just jam, but if he bets, we have no choice but to fold. We're playing 10 high. This is just one of those kind of outrageous circumstances where it just like doesn't even matter if he's bluffing. I mean, we could re-raise, I guess, and he would have to probably fold like queen high, but he's probably not folding ace high. Like, it's just such a weird spot. We're down to 10 bigs now. I mean, this is really unfortunate. The exact hands had to go so disgusting, this exact run out. I mean, the turn's good. The river's obviously what gets us there. I mean, he's probably like triumphant with jack high there, right? He has like jack 9 or whatever, and he's like stoked that he gets the fold. But the reality is, like, we just don't even have a lot of like king highs there anymore that get to the river. Like, we have king 6, king 5, I guess, that probably fold. But besides that, it's kind of a weird spot where like we also have a lot of 4x. And so him getting us to fold that is not that big of a victory, because he actually beats a lot of our 4x now. So kind of a weird one there. Somewhat instructive, I suppose, but pretty frustrating to be cut down in the exact hands the way we have. Nothing like being on a short stack and looking down at kings. We're just short enough that I think this might still be an open jam instead of a limp, in theory, but I also don't mind limping. We're just we'll obviously get into some tricky spots, and you know, this will look face up to some people, but I'm gonna do this with not just kings plus, so it kind of is what it is. We do face a raise to more than half our stack. This is great to see. I mean, most likely they're never folding against our jam, and you know, we're just gonna get a good shot at a clean double. There's no promise of a double, of course, in poker, but we've got a shot at it. So let's try. If he folds, I'm gonna laugh though. I mean, it's not technically a bad result if he laughs. Wow, big cooler. So obviously they were calling off no matter what, and if we can hold the river, we'll be back up to basically starting stack, which all in all, not that bad. Not that bad given the way the last several orbits have gone. All right, so these spots are always interesting. I think technically open jam is fine, but also raise get it in is also fine. So I'm just going to raise get it in because I think that that's a little better for us getting action sometimes from a big blind with a weak hand. But certainly open jam crosses my mind in a spot like this. These are always scary. You don't really want to be called by the next act player. You'd much rather get called by the button, or I mean really the big blind, much more so. If this gets 3-bet, we probably just have to go with it. This is an okay flop, but we're gonna check. There are just a lot of Broadway hands that the opponent will flat here, and I mean, even pocket pairs that like make sets here, they might flat. So the fact that they check back is pretty good on a somewhat wet board. I'm going to go for 1/3 here. We can still get called by some pocket pairs, some flush draws. It's not a great river card, but I think that we just check and usually win at showdown. If he bets, it's pretty uncomfortable, but we'll have to evaluate based on sizing probably. He does check back. Super grateful to see that. And let's see what he had. Ace Jack of clubs. So we got pretty great value there. I mean, I don't think they're calling off if we open jam, for example, and that hand is in pretty rough shape, and we got, value in, even though our actual, like the literal strength of our hand wasn't that great. Even the relative value of our hand was not incredible. So nice little pickup there, much needed pickup, and we're still near the bottom of the pack here, but doing okay now. So we're going to open this one off of a little over 20 bigs, 20, 22, 23 bigs. I mean, we don't want to get piled on, but we're pretty happy with this hand. I think we could certainly limp it, but I've found that raising has seemed to be working better for me. Sometimes you get to take it down pre, which is a pretty big deal. We do flop queen high on a board where people may well just go with a worse queen multi-way. I think that we want to size up so that we can just get it in on the turn against these stacks. So I think we're going to go for about half pot, which allows for a somewhat clumsy get it in. Probably a little bigger than this would be a bit better. Probably, now that I think about it, 2/3 to just like go geometric, same size on turn as river is probably significant, or excuse me, on flop and turn. Probably enough better to make it worthwhile, but oh well, sometimes we mess up and that's okay. Still gonna probably be a good spot for us. Certainly if Ivy Raiders gets it in, we're a little less happy, but we're still getting it in. Yeah, we'll be behind a fair bit, but it's just, we just don't have a choice. Like if we're gonna flop the second best hand, essentially every time, that's just what's gonna happen when we have a value hand. It's unfortunate. We're down to about 5-6 big blinds, but that's poker. It's never fun. This is why it's hard to make videos like this, because that and I kind of touched on this in the last video, that like 80% of the time you're just not even going to make the money. And like probably 60-70% of the time it's not even going to be like close, which is not super enjoyable to make or watch, I think. But I hope that there are instructive moments along the way. And I think that it should give some insight into how nutty it is to play tournaments, especially if you're trying to play tournaments for a living. I would not be doing this if I didn't have additional forms of income. Like I just wouldn't really, even if I had the bankroll, mentally it's very challenging to really be in a situation like this and just perpetually brick stuff and feel good. It's just very difficult. Interesting to note in this one that we can rebuy for 15K, which is almost 20 bigs, but rebuys are over in 5 minutes basically. So it's not that I'm going to punt it in, but I am going to be looking for good spots here. I'm definitely not going to be leaning on, let me wait for a better spot. I'm going to lean into, this might be the best spot that we get. And if it doesn't work out, then at least we're this is really close. I think offsuit, it's a fold. Suited, it's a jam. 10-9 might be a jam. I don't know. I think Jack 10 would be. But we'll be in the big blind, and there will be a lot of scenarios where we're just all in after some big blind action. So it's not like I'm hoping that we get stacked, but I'm hoping that we have an opportunity to have a profitable spot. But this is like our worst nightmare. Like people tanking down their time banks to like make it to the end of late reg is like very bad for us. We want to see spots and maybe get it all in. Maybe we don't get it all in. Like it might not be the right time, but like this is a hand where we're just going to be all in a lot. And that's kind of like okay for us. We'd prefer not to see that guy jam. Okay, this is good. This is a good spot. We'll have a lot of good opportunities here. We can just like flat and get it in on many boards where we connect. And I mean, we could even just get it in now I'm sorry, I don't know why my frames are lagging so hard. There's like really nothing has changed on my computer. And then I tried to quit some apps and it, of course, thinks I'm trying to quit the game. Okay. I think we will still flat and just try to flop some equity. Of course, we just flop no equity at all. I mean, queen high could be good sometimes, but we just can't get it in. We're just going to face a jam here a lot, and we'll fold. I don't know why they made it that size. That was very silly. They could just min bet or possibly just jam. Either one would be fine. All right, we'll be all in here almost no matter what. 3 to 4 big blind stack. 3.5 to 4, and it folds around to the cutoff. So this is going to be very easy. Unless it's 3-bet, then it's like kind of annoying, but we probably still get it in, I believe. So I'm also going to say rebuy so that if we're all in on this hand, it hopefully automatically catches that we want the rebuy. If we're close on time here. All right, so let's get it in. Less than 2x. But we're still ahead of a lot of hands, which is cool. So we're not ahead of that one, but all right, well, we had a good shot at it. The flop looked great, the turn not so much. So we are rebuying, and we will come in with just a hair under 20 big blinds, 7 minutes until the next level, which would be 15 big blinds. So yeah, pretty annoying to have like 40K not that long ago and now be stuck, but such is life. All right, so nice pickup here. Queens under the gun once again. Last time that we got queens under the gun, it just folded all the way through. We're going to hopefully improve on that result here, but I suppose just winning the blinds is fine. It is a pretty good result, in fairness. Wow, it actually looks like it might happen again. We faced the small 3-bet from a 25 big blind stack. Pretty scary. Feels like it's aces a lot. But our hand is probably just too good, and calling doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. SPR would be under 1. So I mean, it feels like the hand we're about to bust on, but we're going with it. Yeah. I mean, I just can't be hero folding queens every single day. Like, it's just not going to happen. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like every time I've had queens when I've recorded this tournament for you, any of the circuit events for you guys, I have run into aces or won the blinds. I don't know what to tell you. So hopefully this was somewhat useful to somebody out there, because that kind of sucked. And it's tough to keep a cheerful outlook when the circuit series is going how it is for me. Just kind of like a couple small wins early and then just running completely sideways and downward as of late. I mean, even playing online on this site in particular, my volume is pretty low, and that's made it challenging to work through the variance, as they say. So hopefully this was useful. This circuit series is over, but there is a bracelet series that is right around the corner on the same site. So I'll be firing some at those, although with how things are going, I might need to take a few days off. We'll see how I'm feeling, if I'm feeling up to too much of it. But this has been Matt Vaughan with CardsChat, and I'll see you guys all in another video very soon.